This is Krystal, the Teen and Adult Services Librarian, and thank you so much for joining me for this week's First Chapter Friday. Today I will be reading from the first chapter of Shelby Mahurin's Serpent and Dove. Hope you enjoy. Part 1. Misfortune never arrives alone. French proverb. The bell arose. Blue. There's something haunting about a body touched by magic. Most people first notice the smell. Not the rot of decay, but a cloying sweetness in their noses, a sharp taste on their tongues. Rare individuals also sensed a tingle in the air. A lingering aura on the corpse's skin, as if the magic itself was still present somehow, watching and waiting, alive. Of course, those stupid enough to talk about such things ended up on the stake. 13 bodies had been found throughout Belterra over the past year, more than double the amount of years prior. Though the church did its best to conceal the mysterious circumstances of each death, all had been buried in closed caskets. There he is. Coco motioned to a man in the corner. Though candlelight bathed half of his face in shadow, there was no mistaking the gold brocade on his coat or the heavy insignia around his neck. He sat rigid in his chair, clearly uncomfortable, as a scantily clad woman draped herself across his plump midsection. I couldn't help but grin. Only Madame Labelle would leave an aristocrat such as Pierre Tremblay waiting in the bowels of a brothel. Come on, Coco motioned toward a table in the opposite corner. Babette should be here soon. What sort of pompous wears brocade while mourning? I asked. Coco glanced at Tremblay over her shoulder and smirked. The sort of pompousness with money. His daughter, Philippa, had been the 7th body found. After her disappearance in the dead of night, the aristocracy had been shaken when she'd reappeared, throat slashed, at the edge of Lou Molencolinique. But that wasn't the worst of it. Rumors had crawled through the kingdom about her silver hair and wrinkled skin, her cloudy eyes and gnarled fingers. At 24, she'd been transformed into a hag. Tremblay's peers simply couldn't understand it. She'd had no known enemies, no vendettas against her to warrant such violence. But while Philippa might have had no enemies, her pompousness of a father had accumulated plenty while trafficking magical objects. His daughter's death had been a warning. One did not exploit the witches without consequences. Bonjour, messieurs. A honey-haired courtesan approached us, batting her lashes hopefully. I cackled at the brazen way she eyed Coco. Even disguised as a man, Coco was striking. Though scars marred the rich brown skin of her hands, she covered them with gloves. Her face remained smooth, and her black eyes sparkled even in the semi-darkness. Can I tempt you to join me? Sorry, darling. Adopting my smarmiest voice, I patted the courtesan's hand the way I'd seen other men do. But we're spoken for this evening. Mademoiselle Babette will be joining us shortly. She pouted for only a second before moving on to our neighbor, who eagerly accepted her invitation. Do you think he has it on him? Coco scrutinized Tremblay from the top of his bald head to the bottom of his polished shoes, lingering on his unadorned fingers. Babette could have been lying. This could be a trap. Babette might be a liar, but she isn't stupid. She won't sell us out before we pay her. I watched the other courtesans with morbid fascination. With cinched waists and overflowing bosoms, they danced lightly amongst the patrons, as if their corsets weren't slowly suffocating them. To be fair, however, many of them weren't wearing corsets, or anything at all. You're right. Coco dug our coin pouch from her coat and threw it on the table. It'll be after. Oh, mon amour, you wound me. Babette materialized beside us, grinning and flicking the brim of my hat. Unlike her peers, she swathed as much of her pale skin as possible with crimson silk. Thick, white makeup covered the rest, and her scars. They snaked up her arms and chest in a similar pattern to Coco's. And for 10 more golden corions, I would never dream of betraying you. Good morning, Babette. Chuckling, I propped a foot on the table and leaned back on my chair's hind legs. You know, it's uncanny the way you always appear within seconds of our money. Can you smell it? I turned to Coco, whose lips twitched in an effort not to grin. It's like she can smell it. Bonjour, Louise. Babette kissed my cheek before leaning toward Coco and lowering her voice. Cassette, you look ravishing, as usual. Coco rolled her eyes. You're late. My apologies. Babette inclined her head with a saccharine smile. But I did not recognize you. I will never understand why such beautiful women insist on masquerading as men. Unaccompanied women attract too much attention. You know that. I drummed my fingers against the tabletop with practiced ease, forcing a grin. Any one of us could be a witch. Bah! She winked conspiratorially. Only a fool would mistake two as charming as you for such wretched, violent creatures. Of course, I nodded, tugging my hat even lower. While Coco's and Babette's scars revealed their true natures, Dames Blanche could move through society virtually undetected. The russet-skinned woman on top of Tremblay could be one, or the honey-haired courtesan who just disappeared up the stairs. But the flames come first with the church, questions second. It's a dangerous time to be a female. And if you would like to know what happens next, you can check out this title, Serpent and Dove, on the Libby app or the Hoopla app, or hear from the library in print, although you might have to wait just a while because this one's going to go home with me. So I will see you here in 2 weeks, where we will be reading from the first chapter of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Thank you and have a great week.